And does anyone have any questions at this point before I continue on?
So we actually do have one question. Let me go ahead and unmute one of our attendees. Well, looks like she's lowered her hand. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and move on.
Okay, great. So this is, I'm going to walk through the Twitter interface right now. So right now we're at the home page, and this is your timeline. This is where you get to see all the material from everyone you follow. On the top left, you can see your profile photo. This is our alpha photo right here. I definitely suggest for your organization to put, like I said, your logo. And your header photos right above it. You can see how many tweets you sent, how many people you are following, and how many followers you have. So sometimes underneath, you can see your suggestions for Twitter. It's who to follow, but on this page it's on the right. And often you will see other organizations or people with similar interests. So this is a good place to build a network. On the left side again, you'll see trends. These are topics that are the most popular across the country, or you can actually set up a local area or have tailored trends directly to your interests. So I'm going to change it to see what's the conversation in Washington right now. So these are the conversations that are happening in this area. These are the most popular conversations that are happening. So on the next tab, we have our notifications, and you can actually see that we have 2 notifications right there. And this is where you see people interact with your account. When you send out a tweet, people can retweet you, meaning that they repost your message, favorite your tweet, a way to appreciate the tweet, but also archive it for later. And they can mention you, meaning that they include your username in the tweet. And also, people can retweet the tweets that you've already retweeted. On the next page right here, on the next tab, is Discover. And I guess this is one of the least used tabs on Twitter. It shows what your friends are favoriting, what is popular on Twitter, and possibly other people or material you'd be interested in. One of the better features that you can find on this is Find Friends. And you can search through your Gmail, Outlook, AOL, or Yahoo accounts to find people that are in your contacts that already are on Twitter. You can also invite your friends to join Twitter via email, but I would highly recommend not doing that because no one wants to have more of those spam emails in their email mailbox. Okay, so moving on, we're going to go to, actually, right underneath is the Find Friends tab in Discover is Popular Accounts. And these are just basically popular accounts by subject. So you can see music, Shakira's here, Rihanna's here, sports, photography, entertainment. So these are also like subjects that you can look into and find people or celebrities that you'd like to follow. So the Me page is your personal page, but this is also what people will see when they search for you. On the left side, under your photo, is you or your organization's bio. So this is our bio for the National Fair Housing Alliance. And you can link to a website that will say when you first joined Twitter. And underneath will be all the photos and videos you've ever tweeted. On top of your tweets, you have a couple of tabs right over here. Once again, you have a tab including for photos and videos, your following, your followers, and like I mentioned earlier, when you favorite a tweet, it actually archives it, so you can go here and look at all of your favorited tweets that you've ever favorited. Also here you have lists, but we'll get into lists a little bit later. So like I said, this is your landing page for people you can search, so you can also see, if you're on someone else's page, you can also see who they're following, who their followers are, and what their favorites are as well, and all of the tweets that they've ever tweeted. So if we continue on with the tabs on the top, we also get to direct messages. So direct message conversations are between two people who are mutually following each other. And messages are limited to 140 characters, just like tweets are. And this is a private conversation between two people who follow each other. So it's not going to be public at all. It's just between you two. And the last is our settings and help, where this is where you can change your preferences, your privacy settings, and etc. I think that you guys are all pretty much used to settings. So at this point, we can take more questions. I just went through a lot of material, so I would not be surprised if there's a lot of questions.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions about the importance of the hashtag and what the hashtag means. And so, Andrew, I don't know if you want to address that now or if that's something you're going to address later.
Yeah, I'm actually going to talk about it. Like, that's the next conversation that I was going to talk about is hashtags.
Okay, great. So we're going to get to that just shortly. And then we also have another question. How do you upload photos and information or news articles?
Okay. That's also right next. So we're going to be talking about how to tweet right next up. So that's all the stuff that I'm going to be covering in about 2 minutes.
Okay. So do you have any more questions about the interface or sort of the layout of Twitter? Okay, we have a question about how long information stays on your homepage on Twitter.
Yeah, that actually is a really great question. So it actually depends on how many people you're following and how often they tweet. So if a lot of people are tweeting a lot, this is all gets pushed down in real time. So the more people are tweeting, the faster this is going to be moving your timeline. So it really depends person to person. If you're following thousands of people, it's going to move pretty quickly.
Right, but if you were to go onto someone's profile page, say you went on Natha's page, you could see all of the tweets that they had tweeted. So they will stay on your page. I think forever. I don't think there's a limit on sort of how many tweets are on your page. So you can put it out there, but you know it's going to stay there too. It's one good thing, unless you delete it, right? So we have actually another question. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. If you could please just say your name and then just ask your question. Sorry, Get a Beacha?
Yeah.
Okay, if you'd like to go ahead and ask your question.
I was just asking, do you have any control over who your followers are?
Oh, who your followers are? Yeah, so you can actually, so anyone, it depends on your privacy settings. So if you want to make yourself private, you can, accept who you want to follow and who you're following. But if you're a public profile, anyone could follow you, but you do have the opportunity to block them, depending if they're, harassing you on Twitter. You can just block who is seeing your page, and they won't be able to interact with you or see your tweets.
And did you have a follow-up question as well? Okay.
So I guess I'm going to move on to how to tweet.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on in sort of the tutorial part. So go ahead.
Okay, so I guess this is the moment everyone's been waiting for is, once you have set up your account, how do you tweet? So here on your right is actually your Twitter box. So you're going to compose a message. So you have 140 characters. You can see that right here. And as you are typing, the number is going to go down. So I'm going to say, we are so excited to be teaching how to use Twitter today. So right here, you can see that we have 82 characters left. I'm going to copy and paste this message 3 times just so that you can see what happens when you go over. So it'll actually show you that you're 34 characters over. And I wanted to let you know that characters do include punctuations and they do include spaces. So here you can also add a photo. You can add photos, you can add videos. You can, the videos can also be through YouTube, and it'll automatically upload. And you can also put links, and Twitter automatically shortens the URLs to save you some characters. But there are some URL shorteners that work better online and make the link smaller. I believe Google is one of those. You can add up to 4 photos here and 1 video, and recently you can add GIFs, which is something that I love using. And if you don't know what a GIF is, it's like a short moving picture. It's not actually a video, but it's a moving picture. Yeah. So I'm going to tweet this out, and you can see it comes right on the top of our timeline. And another thing that you can do is use hashtags. So a hashtag is basically a way to see what other people are discussing around the same topic. So the NAACP just tweeted this 11 minutes ago. They used hashtag NAACP105. So I can see, or hashtag school to prison. So let's see what people are talking about the school to prison. So these are everyone around the world who's using hashtag school to prison. So you can see all these other folks who are talking about the school to prison pipeline and activism around that. And you can engage with people over this issue. So hashtags are used to label a topic, but also it can be used in multiple ways. There's something called a hashtag conversation. And I was trying to find one that's currently being talked about right now. And I saw this morning on my Twitter feed that there's a hashtag conversation called hashtag Give It Up Cca. So I'm going to go to that now. And hashtag Give It Up Cca is something that was started last night by @ChiefElk, who was talking about the California College of Arts took artwork from women of color without credit and then profited off of the material. So people are using this hashtag this morning to talk back against the academic institution, but also place this within a historical, social, and economic narrative. So this is one way that people use hashtags to do community organizing, to really try to get equity back from organizations. So many times these conversations will last a few hours or a day or two at most before petering out. And if trends or become very large, many news organizations will follow it and write reports about the online collective action. So one of these is hashtag Not Your Asian Sidekick, which happened in December, which was started by our freelance writer, Sui Park, who was talking about basically having a conversation between other Asian American women about their Asian American female experiences, particularly in feminist spaces. So this is a BuzzFeed article that was really reporting on, the outcome of this hashtag conversation. So a lot of people were, discussing it and had a lot of people interacting. So participating in hashtag conversations or hashtags in general is a very easy way to get a lot of retweets, have more impact, and gain more followers. Also, a trick in Twitter is, like I said, everyone has their username. And their username always starts with an @ symbol, if you could see here right under NFHA. Ours is @NatFairHouse. And if I tweeted directly at ourselves, but I'm going to use us as an example, no, your Twitter followers would not be able to see it because it would go directly to that person. So a trick that we have so that people on your timeline can still see your tweet is you just put a period in front of that mention, and that way your followers can still see that tweet on your timeline. Does anyone have any questions about how to tweet? Because I'm going to go into some more vocabulary and examples later. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on then. So here's some key vocabulary words for when using Twitter. So the first one that I would say is your handle. So I've been referring to it as your username before, but this is your handle right here. Ours is at @fairhouse. And like I said, that's basically how people will identify you. A lot of times people will, if they're trying to talk about your organization, they will try to mention you in their tweet. So it's also great to, just keep checking on your mentions to see how people are like describing your organization. Next is a hashtag, like we discussed earlier, where it's a topic. I also wanted to tell you guys there's about retweeting and favoriting. So retweets are basically when you repost something that someone else has written. So for the purposes of this webinar, we're going to just retweet Housing Wire. Is this the way to cut housing costs when facing hardships? So if you agree with that, you might want to retweet it. And now people who are following you can also see that post. You can also favorite it. So we can also favorite this tweet, and then that will come up later in our favorites. And also it's just a way to say that you really liked the tweet as well. So here you can see all of our followers. And these are basically every single person that's following you. And you can see exactly what organizations, all of their headers, their profile photos, etc. Here's your following. Your following is basically the people you follow. And you can unfollow them as well from here and see their bios. We already went through direct messaging, and blocking I briefly mentioned is basically when someone, you don't want them to see your stuff, or you no longer want them to be able to interact with you, you can block them as well. There's also lists, which is something that I personally don't use, and it's basically when you make a shorter or smaller timeline with people for specific topics. Yeah. So does anyone have any questions about any of the terms that I just used? Okay, so I'm going to, give it back to Kevin, who's going to be talking about research-based best practices for Twitter.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Andrew. So yeah, I basically just wanted to talk about, we kind of covered how to tweet, right? But I think one of the big questions is what do you say on Twitter, right? Because we're limited to 140 characters, which is really, it's kind of a short amount of content to really get across. So I think, it's good to be smart about exactly what you're saying on Twitter, and to try to get the most impact for whatever you're, whatever you're tweeting. So, so one of the things that I wanted to say is that, a lot of people link their Facebooks with their Twitters. So basically the way it works is when you first log into Twitter, it'll ask you if you want to link up your Facebook account, right? So what this basically does is that it automatically posts everything that you have on Facebook to your Twitter account. But the problem with that is that it modifies it in such a way that not all of the message comes across in the tweet. So it'll say, maybe a couple of words, and then it'll link to your Facebook post. And this really isn't terribly effective. In my experience, I've seen organizations that use this. They very rarely get retweeted, so people very rarely take their content and spread it elsewhere. Most of the time, people just see this, and it looks as if people aren't engaging with Twitter on Twitter's terms, right? So I would suggest, Facebook and Twitter, a lot of the ideas and a lot of the content is, can be used interchangeably, but it's just the way that you package it, right? So whereas on Facebook, you would maybe write 2 sentences, 3 sentences in a post, maybe have a large graphic. On Twitter, you would want to really cut that down into like half a sentence or just 1 sentence, right? And then link to something larger if you really want people to learn more. So that's really kind of a best practice in terms of Facebook. What's good on Facebook and what's good on Twitter might not be the same thing. So second thing to keep in mind about Twitter is that timeliness is really important. So what Twitter's really good at is things that are happening right now. So if you're at a conference and you want to engage with the presenter, what you would do is you would kind of look up their handle, right? So you would go to the search box at the top of Twitter. You'd maybe look up the person who's presenting. You'd find what their handle is. So like at Barack Obama, for say, and you would write at Barack Obama in your tweet somewhere, maybe at the end of the tweet, and you would try to interact with them that way. So timeliness is really important. So it's what's happening right now that belongs on Twitter. You can also talk about things that you've done in the past, or throwbacks. Throwback Thursday is a big one. So every Thursday, I'm going to ask Andrew if you could just search TBT on Twitter. So people use the hashtag TBT every Thursday, and basically what you do is you post something that's a throwback or that's happened in the past, right? And so you would post something along those lines. This is a great way to talk about the history of your organization, the history of housing law, the fair housing movement, things like that, civil rights. That's a really great thing to kind of post about. So other timely things could include if you're hosting any kind of event. One really good thing to do is just think up a hashtag for the event. So if you're having like an open forum on housing, you would say hashtag NFHA forum, right? And so you would use that in every single one of your tweets while you're at that event. And so you would advertise that as well to people and say, hey, everyone, if you want to tweet with us, you can use the hashtag NFHA meeting or whatever. And so again, timeliness is really important. So another thing, third off, is to try to share photos. And so as Andrew said before, when you're writing a tweet, if you go into the compose tweet little section there, you can add a photo. So the research has shown that tweets that use photos are much more popular than tweets without photos. So it's good to include a visual whenever possible. Interacting with people is also really important on Twitter. That's one of its strong points, is that it's very easy to interact with people who are important, people who are influencers, folks who are constituents. So it's really good to not just put out static content, but also try to interact with people as much as possible. So along those lines, every time you get a new follower, so Andrew, if you could hit the notifications bar, every time you get a new follower, it'll pop up in your notifications. And so you can see, if you scroll down, yeah, so National Homeless followed us, right? And so if you look just above that, what we did is we said, at National Homeless, we used their handle. Thanks for following us. You do some really fantastic work. So basically, this is a way of letting people know right off the bat, hey, we're active on Twitter. We really appreciate you interacting with us, and it really flags you as someone who's to look out for in the future. And you can see after we thank them, they favorited our tweet. And so this is a really great way to kind of build engagement. So every time you see someone follow you, it's good to just kind of throw that out there, thank them. And again, just to remind you of the technical part of this, so if you look at that tweet right there, the one that Andrew is hovering over, it says @National Homeless. Thanks for following us. So when you put someone's handle at the very beginning of a tweet, what that does is it makes it so that they're the only ones who can see it. So that was kind of a direct message, right? Not a literal direct message, but it was a direct tweet mentioning them that only they can see. So it's kind of a, it's a personal, more personal. If I were to put a period before that, it would make that visible to everyone, all of my followers, and so everyone could see it. So that's just a kind of a technical reminder there. Another reminder, another best practice is to retweet content really frequently. So a good way to start out on Twitter is, if you don't necessarily have content to post, say it's a slow day, right? Slow day in the office, you don't necessarily have any big news items to kind of talk about on your Twitter. A really good idea is to just go through and retweet a ton of people. So, go through. My suggestion would be to, when you first set up your Twitter, do try to put out some original content, but focus on getting accustomed to it just by retweeting again and again and again. So find everything that's really timely and important to your followers, people who work with you, people who would follow you, and retweet it. And once certain accounts see that you're retweeting them again and again and again, they're much more likely to follow you back and to interact with you too. So retweeting is a great way to build engagement, build interest in your account, and get content out there without working very hard. So another really good practice on Twitter and on Facebook too, to be honest, is to ask questions. And so a lot of times people would just put out there, this is happening now, I'm eating the sandwich, I love this restaurant, blah, 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 which are, those are all valid things, right? But on Twitter, it's really great to get people to interact with you, because the more interaction you get, the more visible you are, the more likely people are to retweet you and share your content. So it's great to post questions like the one Andrew's typing right now. So yeah, get that out there. You might get some replies. You might find some interesting insights into what people are thinking about. It's a great way to engage with your followers. So definitely ask questions whenever possible. You might not get answers right away, but don't get discouraged. It's a good way to start. So yeah, and so another best practice is to tag accounts. So like we were saying, when you're typing a tweet, if you mention someone's account by typing say @DOJ, if you really want to get someone's attention with something that's relevant for them, you want to tag them in your tweets. And so you can tag them, and like I was saying before, if you tag people at the beginning of a tweet, it's going to go directly to them and no one else can see it, right? So you want to tag people toward the end of a tweet or in the middle of a tweet if you want all of your followers to see it. Great. So I guess another best practice. I know I'm running through this list kind of quickly here, but if you have any questions, I really encourage you to type those or raise your hand. Another best practice is to keep it short, right? So 140 characters is really short, but they've actually done research and they found that tweets that are 100 characters or less actually get the most engagement. So extra short tweets are also really popular. And the other benefit to keeping it short is that if people want to add on a comment before your tweet, so say like, what are some articles, Andrew's going to pull one up, if you're able to add on to the tweet, so you're able to add on content, right? Right. So it's basically a way to call people out and say, hey, I'm talking about you, I'm talking about something you might be interested in, pay attention. Yeah. So yeah, keep it short if possible. So I guess and this is kind of my last best practice. I know I've been going on here for a little bit, but best practice is to cross-market your Twitter, right? So don't just set up a Twitter and then invite people on your contacts. You need really to get the word out about you really need to get the word out about the fact that you have Twitter, right? And this is a new thing that you want to invite people into, right? So one thing you want to do is definitely put a link to your Twitter account on your website. And so, Andrew, if you could show us what your Twitter account URL looks like, not necessarily yours, but like hitting NFHA, right? So if you look at the top of the bar right there, twitter.com/NatFairHouse. So it's going to be twitter.com/ whatever your handle is. And so you want to copy that and put it on your website. You want to advertise that on your Facebook page. You also want to put that on, if you're so inclined, put it on your event programs and other printed materials. As many ways as possible, you want to get the word out that you have Twitter and that you use Twitter. Also, if you're using hashtags, so if you think of a hashtag that you want, let's say you want everyone at this meeting to be tweeting, hashtag NFHA conference, right? So you want to put that hashtag. People aren't going to know unless you tell them. So you're going to want to put that on all of your printed materials. You're going to want to announce it during sessions. You're going to want to, talk about it, get the word out there as many ways as possible. So that's another thing about Twitter is that people won't know about your Twitter handle or your hashtags unless you tell them about it. So that's super important. Great. So I guess at this point, I'd like to open it up for questions. I know we really covered a lot today, and I really want to encourage people to reach out and ask questions. Go ahead and type them in the box under questions on your toolbar, or feel free to raise your hand, and we'll go ahead and come to you, and you're welcome to speak it out loud. So I will open the floor to questions. Great. So we actually have one. We have one question from Pamela Gonzalez. She asks, "Can you repeat what you mean by tagging people toward the middle or end of your tweet?" So Andrew, if you could go ahead and just show her what a mention looks like in the middle of your tweet. So go ahead and just I would just right. There's that New Jersey U.S. Attorney tweet.
Okay. So this is the New Jersey U.S. Attorney. And this is see full report of investigation into at Newark, New Jersey Police. So by putting it in the middle of their tweet, I, as someone who's following them, or is able to see that tweet, but also see that they mentioned that person. If they had put it directly in the beginning of that tweet, it would have gone directly to the New York, New Jersey Police, and it would have been unable for us to see it on our timelines unless we went to their Twitter page and looked directly through their tweets in that way.
Right, definitely. And so that's basically, and the way that people use these mentions, they're called. And so when you put in one of those accounts into your tweet, it's called a mention. And the way that people use mentions oftentimes is that they'll use it as if they're talking directly to them, right? So they'll say, "See full report of investigation into Newark, New Jersey Police by U.S." Right. So it kind of takes the place of somewhere in that tweet where you would just type in Newark, New Jersey Police. So that's a good way to save characters, and that's kind of the way that people use it on Twitter. Okay, we got another question from our own Cheryl Frost Brown. She asks, "There are some reports of elected officials deleting inappropriate or bad tweets. What are some cautions about tweeting?"
About retweeting.
Right, about tweeting and retweeting and just using it in general. I think this is a really good point that Twitter is a very short medium, right? So there's only 140 characters. It's difficult to get across a lot of nuance in a tweet. So it's good to be just as you are on Facebook, just as you are on email. Definitely when you put it out there, it's in the public domain. Consider it in the public domain, right? And so, yeah, I would definitely, suggest that everyone, not just elected officials, keep an eye on their social media presence and really keep the professionalism to the same standard that you would if you were writing an email or that kind of communication. I
would also say that it's like common for most people to assume that because you're retweeting something, it does not mean that you necessarily endorse it. You're also just bringing it into attention. So a lot of times when someone says something very foolish on Twitter, a lot of people will retweet it so that people will know what this person, usually a celebrity, said, and usually brings that to light for their followers so that they can also draw attention to it. And that's why a lot of celebrities, you can often hear them on the news having to apologize for something inappropriate that they said on Twitter. The one that's coming to my head was Jason Briggs. Recently had to apologize after the Malaysian Airlines. He said something really bad, I think.
Right. So ignorance happens everywhere, right? So great, yeah. And so yeah, keep in mind the things that you retweet. They're sent to all of your followers. So if you keep in mind that if you're on your organization's Twitter, it'll be your organization that shows up as having retweeted this. So it won't show, your personal, that you personally retweeted it. It's really your organization. So think of it as part of your overall brand, right?
I would say also for people who are going to be, downloading the Twitter app on their iPhone, you can also tweet from multiple Twitter accounts from your iPhone app. And when I've worked in other organizations for other nonprofits, have accidentally tweeted from the wrong account. So just make sure that you're always tweeting from the right account. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And that really brings up actually another point that I think we should make is that Twitter is really well suited for a mobile platform, right? And so I would encourage everyone to, once you set up a Twitter account on your computer, go ahead and if you have a smartphone, make sure go and download the app either on your iPhone or on your Android device. You can just go into the Play Store on Google if you have an Android device, or the App Store on Apple, and just search for Twitter and just go ahead and download that. It'll ask you to log in using your normal email address and et cetera. And so you can do it that way, and that way you can just bring it along with you. So if you're at a meeting where something important was announced, you can be the first to break the news, right, to your followers. And so it's good to have it there. Great. So we have another question from Veronica. The question is, can you edit a tweet once it's sent, like you do on Facebook?
So you actually can't. So actually the tweet that I posted earlier, I realized that there was a mistake in it. So I actually have to delete it. And if I was going to redo it, I guess I could redo it now. I would have to just repost the whole entire thing with the new edit that's made. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to tag myself. And that way I'm redoing the tweet that I sent earlier and corrected what I was trying to send.
Okay, great. All right, so we have another question from Yvonne. She asks how you upload photos. So maybe we should just go through the process of adding a photo to a tweet. Maybe if we could just download a sample photo from somewhere, and then we can just show how to add it to it. So Andrew, take it away.
Cool. Okay, so we're going to upload a picture of a house. This one looks really cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save image. And I'm going to upload So I would just go to the place where I downloaded it. I clicked add image, add photo here, and then I'll open it. And then just like that, I could tweet out the photo of that house. Yep.
Right, and so that would show up in people's streams, beneath the tweet. So it would show right underneath it there. Great. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions. No other questions, everyone? All right, here we go. We got one. All right. Can you tweet photos in real time?
Yeah, so actually this funny photo that I just retweeted from my account was me listening to Kevin on the webinar. So this was me taking a selfie, posting it on my Twitter, and then we retweeted it from the NFHA account. So this is us in real time. This is what I'm wearing today.
Yeah, and also when you download the app on your phone, if you do have a smartphone, you're able to take a picture with your phone and upload it directly to Twitter. So it's a really easy way to take a photo of what's happening right now, or yourself in Andrew's case. Okay, great. Any other questions, everyone? We did talk quite a bit today about Twitter, and I'm sure we gotta have some questions. And if not, then we'll definitely be able afterward to answer more particular questions, or if you want to walk through of how to set up your Twitter, how to get followers, that kind of thing. We'll definitely be available in the next couple of days and in the future too. So I'll give it just a minute or two. Okay, we had a quick question about fundraising using Twitter. So this is a great platform. As you know, people more and more are using their cell phones to browse the web, to get their content, to get their news. And so Twitter is perfect for the mobile audience, which is really a lot younger, a lot more diverse than other kind of mediums. And I think this is a really great market for fundraising to kind of tap into. That if you're an organization that is is mostly relied on email and mailings, that kind of thing, this is a really great space to start doing fundraising. I think creating a hashtag that kind of supports you, support NFHA or support XYZ, is a great way to start with this kind of like fundraising effort. And of course, you'd have to link to either a page on your website, or if you have a PayPal account, there's different ways to do it and set it up. But it's a good launching point once you do get followers to start doing the things that your organization does already. It's just really a new audience, and you do have to communicate in a slightly different way, but the goals are really the same.
Yeah, I would jump on that and say that there's a lot of organizations, nonprofits who use Twitter to fundraise. You often see like, thanks, for following me. Please support our cause by, donating here. There's also a lot of, organizers who will also use Twitter to further fundraise for their causes. I know that one big thing that a lot of people are fundraising for on Twitter right now, a lot of criminal justice folks are, the Legal Defense Fund around Marissa Alexander's case to get her proper defense. And they often say, like, please support this fund, and they'll just put in the link. So that's another organized way other people are organizing around fundraising for supporting their organizations or their causes.
Great. Yeah, that was awesome. Absolutely. So I think, one, I'm just going to throw out another best practice there. I think, like in all of your communications, I think it's so important to give it a human face and to really tell stories. And so I think, Twitter's really conducive to that, because you can pull out a quote that really gets people's interest and really piques people's interest, put that in a tweet, and link to an article or a blog post or, something that, some other larger kind of format document. And I think, with the ability to add pictures and to add pictures of people and stories, that's really important too. So again, that ties in with the fundraising question.
Actually, I wanted to also add something that I forgot, especially with the hashtag. I wanted to say, like, you can create a hashtag, but you can't actually determine where that hashtag goes. One important thing that happened in recent months was the NYPD tried to create a hashtag to show, communities that are supporting their police officers. And at the beginning of the hashtag, it was a lot of people, posting pictures of the police officer and them at a Dunkin' Donuts, eating. I'm actually going to Google And it backfired terribly. So the hashtag was MyNYPD to show, how NYPD is benefiting communities, but a lot of people started posting pictures of a lot of police brutality on the hashtag MyNYPD. So it's just one way to see how hashtag conversations can go in different directions than you originally planned.
Right, absolutely. So, all right, I'm going to ask for, I guess, one more round of questions if any lingering kind of thoughts out there. We'll just pause for a second. Okay, great. Well, I guess if we're out of questions, then we can wrap up the webinar today. So everyone, thank you so much for attending today, this Twitter 101 webinar. We really appreciate you kind of jumping on board and getting involved with Twitter. And I really hope that in the future that you decide to create a Twitter and start tweeting and interacting with NFHA. And first thing you do when you get on Twitter, make sure to follow @NatFairHouse. And we're also going to be available to take questions. If you have any questions, please reach out to either myself or Andrew. Again, our number here is 202-898-1661, and my email address is kpaul@nationalfairhousing.org. And I'll go ahead and I'll be sending out a follow-up email to this webinar with a step-by-step list of instructions on how to start a Twitter and a lot of the things that we talked about today. So you'll have a little bit of reference material to kind of move forward with this. And again, our Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Social Media Day of Action is coming up as well. We're still waiting to hear on when Secretary Castro will be sworn in officially in his post at HUD. And so once we hear that, we're going to be sending out an action alert. And if you're interested in joining that campaign and being part of the Twitter engagement, please shoot me an email, again, kpaul@nationalfairhousing.org. I'll be on the email afterwards. You can just reply to that if you'd like. So again, thank you so much for attending, and have a great rest of your day.